Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the weekly market review where I tell you exactly what you need to invest in to make millions of coins. Once again, last week we hit every single nail on the head, and we're going to do the same today. If you want to make millions of coins and get your favorite FUT birthday players, you are in the right place. All you've got to do to say thank you is drop a like down below, subscribe if you're new. And of course, if you do want to buy some coins to make your team even better, well, do you want the best team in FC25? Yeah, baby! Do you want to be able to buy players like this or this and not be stuck with a team like this? Then you need to head over to skycoach.gg, select the amount of coins or which weekend league boost you'd like, make sure to pop in Pro Recall at checkout, and enjoy your new team. Now, to start things off, we're going to very briefly touch on what has happened over the previous week. Now, as you can see, I still have an absolute ton of informs. Why is that? They still haven't really had a considerable enough rise for me to say, look, I'm going to absolutely get rid of every single one of these. If we go ahead over to Footbin, we will in a moment, have a look at the price of informs, and they're not really that crazy. For reference, right now, the 85s are going for around 14,000 coins, which of course is not what I was investing for. We want to see 18, 19, 20,000 coins before I start getting rid of these. Obviously, a lot of them are pack pulled, but then we've also got the likes of players like Strudget, who, yes, has had a little rise. You know, I could sell most of these for 15k if I wanted to, but that is, once again, not what we're looking for. I want to see 20 plus on these 87 informs. Same for Modric. I don't want to be getting him gone for anything really less than what is close to hopefully that 30 mark. Now, one thing we got right last week, and we've got right over the last two promos, is the Fantasy FC trade-in, or the trade-in SBC. So I said you would be able to pick up the very worst players in this promo very cheaply across the week up until this point. Then once this SBC comes out, they will rise. Now, I managed to sell quite a few, and I've got myself back to the 1 million coin mark. Some of you who keep up the channel, we know we went all the way down to 500k from store packs, and just me actually spending the coins a bit. And across the last week, just through investments, we've gained around 500,000 coins. So very, very easily picking that back up just by knowing what was going to happen. And of course, Fantasy FC trading, it was almost a guarantee. Now, while it was a pretty much guarantee last week, obviously we need to check the players that come into the next promo before we'll know what that's going to sit as. But the likelihood is it's going to be another SBC that says if you trade in 2, 3, 4, depending on the lower ratings of these cards, you're going to be able to go and get one of these cards of a minimum rating. Now, obviously, if FUT birthdays have a lower minimum, which it's unlikely, but could happen, you know, let's say there's 86s or 87s in there, it might be that you need to do 4 of those cards. But the likelihood is 3 more cards. Obviously, across the week, we're going to see highs and lows. And if we have a look at the current team, obviously, we look at players like Levels, who at a stage was around, I think, if we just have a look, you know, not going to guess. So Levels started at around 17,000 coins, had a low of 16, and then kind of rose throughout the week. I believe the SBC came out on Tuesday, which is where on Footbin she hit sort of 21, and then she soared up to 22 and kind of sat where she is now at this 25k mark. Now, realistically, as soon as the SBC drops, as soon as that trade-in is available, these cards shoot up. So if you'd have managed to pick her up at 16k, let's say for argument's sake, you got 10 at 16,000 coins, obviously selling them at 24k, which is what she's basically sat at now, or 25, you're making a 9k profit. Obviously, after EA tax on that, you're basically making just under an 8,000 coin profit. 10 cards is 80,000 coins. So you would have made a very, very decent profit. You would have only had to spend on these cards, if you got them on absolute low, 160k, 165k, you've made 80k, so you've made almost half of what you invested. So if you have a look at the team, obviously you had Levels, you had Firmin, you had Guisard, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, and then he has Nazareth as well, all pretty much at their minimums. Obviously slightly higher minimum for Nazareth, and she's actually on the way to an upgrade. But this gives you an idea of what the cards are going to be worth picking up, and it's absolutely worth just getting your hands on some of those lower cards as the promo opens. You know, the ones that you see and you think, you know, they're gonna be min price 17, 18, whatever k, because even if they do not have the SBC, you're not going to lose many coins. It's a very safe investment, and the reality is, I think EA knows it's a very good way to, 1, take coins off the market, and 2, absolutely finesse some people with some terrible packs. And I know that EA love doing both of those things. Now, obviously, one thing else to note as well is how much there has been a drop on all of the promo cards. Pavard is a lot cheaper than you'd expect. So is Nunez. Rodrigo and Rashford, obviously, you know, exactly how you'd expect, but a lot cheaper than people would have predicted on a lot of these cards. So what I would say is steer clear of getting your investments in on some of the bigger cards unless you can evidently see they're going to go crazy. I mean, Haaland centre back is a very good example. Yes, of course, it took a big player using him in a tournament for him to really soar, but the reality is the card was brilliant from the off. It was a huge defender with brilliant play styles, and that's what you need to look out for. It's the play styles and the stats, how they're relying. Is it regularly a meta player, and is it looking like it's too low on the market? Obviously, sometimes those kind of views are going to be risks, but that's how I make a lot of my coins, is really assessing the market as it comes. Before we touch on the cheapest buy rating stuff that we will always touch on, let's have a look at some of the upgrades for the Fantasy FC tracker. Now, we're on FUTGG here. I do prefer this to FUTBIN, but it doesn't have some of the features that FUTBIN does. Now, if we look at some of these cards, obviously Caicedo looks lovely. That's going to be a crazy card in the future. Pavard, who in my opinion would be worth picking up soon, because in my opinion this is going to be one of the best defenders on the game. He is absolutely bonkers, so definitely get your hands on him. I have 3 of him, all untradeable, but I do think he's crazy. What you do want to have a look at with these cards, keep up to date with the tracker. Some of them are going to be absolutely bonkers, and also a lot of these cheap ones. I mean, Nazareth is very, very cheap right now. She's probably getting a 99 face stat. She's pretty much guaranteed both of these upgrades. There's a good chance she'll get more, so she might be one that's worth investing in, being that she is literally the cheapest the card can be. I would say at Friday at 6 when that SBC goes and you can't trade in, if she has a drop, she's not going to be a bad one to have a look at. And then it's worth having a look at the likes of players like Ould Hussein, because look, she's on the very, very low end of the values here. The cards have a lot of potential with these upgrades, and it's always just worth knowing what's going on with them. We all sleep on Litmanen, but he might be one to have a look at as well. If the card goes up to 93 or 94, that could be a very interesting piece of fodder. As you see here, he is currently one of the cheaper 92 rated cards. He's due an upgrade very soon. He could go to 93 quite comfortably, and then I mean, if he goes to 93, he is literally by millions of miles the cheapest 93. So it's definitely worth having him in your back pocket just in case. It's the same for Dunn. If she does hit 93, 94, she's going to be miles cheaper than the other cards at that price. Speaking of team of the year goalkeepers, not a bad filter to have a look at. Obviously, there's 100k between them or more, but realistically, bang on keeper, team of the year, maybe 180, 170k, start sniping from there, you could get some big profit. But let's talk about the things that you're going to be able to do very easily no matter who you are, and we're going to start off with your 83s. Once again, I am going to double down. Rabiot, really worth the investment. He's the only 83 that you can bid on lower than these values here. You can get Rabiot for literally 700 coins. Cheapest 83 by miles. If 83s moves, he will move. We've then got 84s, who seemingly some of them are hitting minimum. White, Vlahovic, DeMarco, Kirby. Get your hands on some of these guys. When they hit minimum, you know that the investment is solid, because as soon as a big SBC requires them and it's big and repeatable, they're going to soar. 85s, same situation. 86s, exactly the same. I can say the same for all the way up to 88 rated cards. I mean, 13k is an absolute steal. We've got some really, really easy investments here, guys. It's not hard, and you really don't have to think about it. And we touch on things like the 91s. Obviously, there is a set price for these, but 91s, 90s, 89s, they're all fairly well priced. I would say the jump between 89 and 90 would suggest to me that 89s are not a bad shout, but we are still waiting on seeing how FUT Birthday will present itself. There will be some big SBCs. In my personal opinion, everyone's going to be doing Havertz, so he's definitely one to think about. And the final thing I will say, guys, is just get some inform investments. It's worth doing. They're a shoe-in. Informs are going to be used every single week right now. And when you've got 87s like Strujic just sitting there, very easily picked up at around 13k, it's absolutely worth it. The other thing that's worth it is, of course, subscribing to the channel. So make sure to do that. Drop a like down below, and I'll see you tomorrow.